listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us share part of your day. My name is Jerry Mitchell. Meyer is sitting here next to me.
Hello, everyone.
All cleaned up and ready to go. Just out of the shower. So, if we were back on the live thing, you'd have to spend more time doing that before you just come in and plop down, right?
Right.
We have fun. And it's, life's too short not to, right? So get used to it. Something I want to let everyone know, and it's amazing when this happens. And I just get humbled, I guess is a good way to say this. Every Sunday, Spreaker is kind enough to send an email with the statistics for the past 30 days. And when I look at it, there's a lot of times I don't pay a lot of attention to it. For some reason yesterday I looked and I went, wow. There's been about a 8 to 12% increase in listeners over the last 30 days. And then they break it down by weeks. So, and I know some people are busy and some people are doing other things certain times. And that might not sound like a lot of people to some folks, but when you're reaching around the world with nothing other than the way we're doing this, that's a lot of people. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's found us. Thank you to everybody who has hit those share buttons and those like buttons, turned on the notifications, whatever it is that you do. Give us the 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. All of those things help spread this out. And if you really like what you're hearing, you can continue to do that. Something else I want to mention, a lot of people this time of year are going to start begging for your money to get those last minute tax deductions in. Well, tax deductions, while they may be convenient, we're not told to give to get a tax deduction. That's why we're not nonprofit. This is completely for profit. We pay taxes. I'm not begging for money for myself, but if you choose, you can. There are a couple of people out there in the world, though, who do need your help. Actually, there's probably several. And you are free to find the ones that you want to go after and help. In fact, I would encourage it. There are some people that we are associated with. One happens to be in Uganda, a lovely young lady who is taking care of some orphans on her own. Now, in Uganda, you have to remember, you have to pay for the schooling out there. Okay, they don't go to school free like in the United States. You have to pay for schooling. You have to pay for the uniforms. You have to pay for the books. Nothing is free. And this person provides this service for these young people. And works very hard to do so. Now, she typically gets along very well, but this year she had coronavirus. She was down for a few weeks, and that affected her income. If you want to help her out, I'm not going to put her information out here. Now, if she wants to put it on the comments, that's up to her. But if you want to contact me, I will get you in touch with her, and you can help her out if you so desire. There is another person that we are familiar with in Kenya. He began a ministry several months ago, within the last year. Shortly afterwards, his apartment where he was staying was broken into and everything he had was taken. Since then, he has come back a little bit and is trying to do some things. He's actually leased a little piece of ground and he's growing vegetables, hoping to raise some money and help some people out like that. But, as with any entrepreneurial encounter, you need to be able to afford what you're doing. And he has his vegetables planted. He has his about half of his irrigation ready to go, but he needs some extra piping to help him reach all of his vegetables. If you'd like to help him, let me know, and we will put you in contact with him as well. There's a lot of people out there, not just in the third world countries. There's people in the United States that need help too. And if you want to look around, I don't think you're going to have to look very far to find folks that need some help. And not all of it's financial. There are people who need someone to just hear them sometimes. Just be able to use your skills sometimes to guide them back on the road that they need to be on. So I know a lot of people are having some financial difficulties, and sometimes it's their fault. Okay? So if you happen to be a good financial advisor, find somebody that needs your help and volunteer for an hour or two a week and guide these people back into financial stability. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of trouble with time management. If you're good in logistics, maybe you can help somebody out that way. Give them a schedule that fits their lifestyle so that they can manage their time better. It's not all about, throwing money at a problem. Sometimes it's about personal involvement. So you've got to be able to do that as well. I know there's people out there that do that, and I think that by and large, giving their most valuable asset, their time, is probably far more valuable than writing someone a check. But then again, we really appreciate each and every one of you out there who is willing to hit those like buttons and share buttons and help spread what we're doing out there. Just simply teaching people to learn how to live their way that their creators designed them to live. Okay, something that I've talked about before, this time in a slightly different way, because we're seeing more and more and more of this, not just in the United States, even though that's the example I'm going to use today, but around the world. And it's kind of troubling. I'm going to say this. It's kind of troubling to see people in these, like a personality type situation where they're famous or sometimes infamous, and they're presenting themselves in an extremely negative way, and they think it's great. And we're going to start, of course, with the people that we watch on television and the movies. Some of them are actors, some of them are sports figures, but they become paid professional liars, right? It's their job. They entertain us by making us believe there's someone they're not. Now, the sports figures, not all of them do that. Some of them are out there and they're paid to go out and be play the best game they can play. But there are certain entertainment factors to some sports, and these people like to play that up too. Just saying, watch the professional, like the mixed martial arts things. Some of these guys are for real, but the majority of them are for your entertainment. And when you watch those, you have to be aware that these people are paid professionals. The actors, for all of the time and all of the effort that they put in, most of them are very good. Some of them are not. And I want to make sure that you understand that what you see in the movies, what you see on television, these folks are portraying something they are not. And recently in the United States, we've had two very, I'm going to call them infamous personalities who forgot that the lies are supposed to stay in their acting roles. Okay? Let's begin with Jussie Smollett, or Smollett, however he says that. Now, he's an actor who had a good thing going. You know, he was on Empire, right? I think was the name of the show. We haven't watched it, so I don't know. After the first few Star Wars movies, it kind of got boring. So, sorry, George, but that's just the way it is. He was making a name. Jussie Smollett was making a name for himself in the acting world. He was probably very good, but now he's basically a disgraced, soon-to-be has-been. Possibly soon to be incarcerated, although I don't think he's going to be incarcerated for his crime. He took lying out of his television role and brought it into real life when he lied to the police about a crime that he himself fabricated in order to make himself a victim when being a victim was very popular. He was charged with 6 offenses, convicted of 5. The only thing he was not convicted of was lying to a second police officer who questioned him about the same thing. And it's kind of odd that they even wanted to prosecute him for that, because that, in my opinion, would have been double jeopardy. If you tell the same lie twice to 2 different people, it's kind of the same thing and it falls under one. So he thankfully wasn't convicted of that. There's no way that he's going to get off on a technicality of that. He has the possibility of going to jail for up to 5 years. I don't think he's going to go to jail. I think he's going to be placed on probation and given some community service. But the way the Hollywood crowd's treating him, his acting days are over. There are some people who think, oh, he's going to have a new show next week. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to happen with him. The next person basically refuses to admit to a very tragic mistake. Of course, we're looking at Alec Baldwin. He's an actor, someone who's been politically outspoken. And for some reason, he thinks because he's a paid professional liar, people should believe him when he talks about politics. Well, in the United States nowadays, that makes a politician, right? So we're going to leave that right there. He tragically is responsible, or I should say he's responsible for tragically shooting 2 people, one of them fatally, 1 person died. And he refuses to admit any responsibility for that act. Now, here's the problem. The gun he was using, they were filming an old-time Western, and the firearm they were using was period correct. I don't know if it was a reproduction, but it was period correct. That particular firearm is a very old, time-tested, proven mechanical device. There's never been a single event ever recorded where any gun like it has ever done anything that Alec Baldwin said that gun did. It just went off all by itself. It pointed itself. Okay? That's his claim. He didn't even point it at those people. It just did it itself. And it fired by itself. That just doesn't happen. I happen to own a black powder version of an earlier, the forerunner to it. And have fired it several times. Now, black powder, you get to enjoy about 20 minutes of shooting time and an hour of cleaning up time, because black powder is very dirty. It's grungy. It's very corrosive. So in all of the times that I have enjoyed handling that, it has never once got up from the table, loaded itself, and fired itself at anything. Okay? It's a mechanical device. You have to do something. Now, there are ways that, if you hit it with a hammer, if you throw it on the ground, if you do things with it, it can potentially jar things loose and fire. But with everything, all of the evidence that we see, that none of that happened. So he, being a paid professional liar, is attempting to benefit from that by by taking the focus off of the real victim and trying to become a victim himself. That just no. Now, Smollett and Baldwin are paid professional liars. Why should we believe them? Well, we shouldn't. What's the Bible say about offering false testimony? Well, it actually has quite a few. Myra's going to read some. And you might be surprised how often this comes up. So, if you want to start in Exodus.
Exodus 20:16. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Deuteronomy 5:20. And you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Deuteronomy 19:15 through 21. A single witness shall not suffice against a person for any crime or for any wrong in connection with any offense that he has committed. Only on the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses shall a charge be established. If a malicious witness arises to accuse a person of wrongdoing, then both parties to the dispute shall appear before the Lord, before the priest and the judges who are in office in those days. The judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you shall do to him as he had meant to do to his brother. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Proverbs 19:9. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Proverbs 25:18. A man who bears false witness against his neighbor is like a war club or a sword or a sharp arrow. Proverbs 14:5. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. Matthew 15:9. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. Acts 6:13. And they set up false witnesses who said, This man never ceases to speak words against this holy place and the law.
Okay. Now, do you realize there's over 100 times in the Bible where it talks about bearing false witness? We are warned about those who conspire and use a false witness. In Acts, of course, they were, well, we know what they were doing. They were putting people up to say, "Oh, look what they're doing," and they were lying about it. Now, lying is treated differently. Sometimes using deception is necessary to preserve innocent life, right? Telling someone who is looking to murder another person, and you say, well, I don't know where they are, and you do, well, that's protecting innocent life, provided that person's innocent, right? That's different. That's treated differently than bearing a false witness. We need to understand why, though, this is becoming so prevalent in the world. And we see it around the world. I read news articles from all over. Even if you read the news out of Argentina, now that sounds like an odd place to read the news from, right? But in all honesty, Argentina is a large country. So the way that they interact with their neighbors and their European friends is important to understand. When you see them reacting in a certain way, it's quite amazing what happens in these South American countries. Also, in Uganda, someone posing as a pastor killed. Well, he and another person along with another person, I should say, killed a 4-year-old child and then tried to cover it up. And he's posing as a Christian pastor to create or to convict or to murder someone. That just shouldn't happen. A priest in South America, they found out he had raped several women before he was caught. But even when no loss of life happens, the sin of bearing false witness is no less. Right? The sin of bearing false witness against our Creator is no less. Remember Goliath, right? That's the whole reason that David stood up against him, because he was blaspheming the name of God. So think about that. What have you done to bear false witness against the Creator? Have you? Oh, I love God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, as I'm bowing down to other idols, whatever they may be. Oh, I love God. I'll do anything for Him except give up my addiction to diet soda and sugar and doing other things to self-destruct my body with the ravages of whatever cancer and diabetes and other things that come along with those addictions. You don't have to be addicted to a strong drug, which, by the way, white granulated sugar now is considered one of the strongest addictions there is, and it's also one of the things that does more harm to the human body than anything else. Cancer feeds off of it readily. There's some denominations in the world right now where they are bearing false witness against our Creator, and the big problem is many of them believe what they're hearing. Some promote that the Creator's been replaced. They do that. I have recently read about a couple who say, well, God has abandoned us. We need to trust someone else. Some Christian denominations promote that the sacred word of our Creator is no longer applicable in our lives. It doesn't matter anymore. It's been done away with. Does that sound familiar to you? Some go so far, as to say that we're able to determine what's right or wrong. Now, I mentioned the Pope said this not too long ago. We get to determine what's right or wrong in our own way. We get to say what's good and bad without any input from any supreme being. We are our own God, is what he's saying. Then there are those who hide behind a twisted version of the Bible. You know who you are. The prophet Jeremiah was absolutely right when he said we have inherited lies. And now many are offering prayer and worship to gods that can't hear because they're only idols of our own imagination. Some of them don't even have a likeness in this world. Some people take it a step further. They pray to themselves and wonder why their life only seems to get worse. They've chosen to self-destruct. They refuse to repent. The question, the question is, why do we choose to believe the lie rather than the truth? Mark Twain said that it's easier to fool a person than to convince them that they've already been fooled. You've heard me say that before. I reference that often. Our pride, some people might take offense to that. Our pride prevents us from admitting we've been tricked into offering prayer and worship to an idol. So it's easier just to keep doing what we're doing than to change and do what is right in the eyes of our Creator. You may see what I'm about to say as a social media meme shortly, but I'm going to say it this way. The Bible is real and you can believe it. Religion is the lie. And if you go back and you find religion in the New Testament, folks, in the Greek it comes from the word that means superstitious. When we hear the truth, even if we recognize it, many of us will choose to reject it because we look around and we see so many other people rejecting it, no matter what the reason might be. Have you ever wondered why the secular world and the atheist world are so willing to celebrate Christmas together? For them, it's not about a birthday, it's not about a religious purpose. It's about the packaging that comes with it, the lights, the presents, the tree, the Hallmark movies. They make you feel good for a few minutes, but you're taking in all of the lies. Just like Jussie Smollett fabricating an attack to become a victim, others accept his miserable life as normal. It's too bad so many were quick to believe him. When all of this began, the presidential candidates, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and many others, they just knew that someone in Chicago wanted to harm somebody just for being gay and black. You don't need a reason in Chicago to harm someone else. They do it for fun. Maybe if he goes to jail, he might receive a beating just for being stupid. Then perhaps being a victim won't seem so admirable to him. I've seen real victims. We know what they look like. They don't want to be victims. And one person from many years ago that I know, and I may have mentioned this before, she was raped. The police were absolutely no help. And she made up her mind never again. She moved to a state in the United States where it's easier for her to possess a concealed firearm. And to my knowledge, she was never a victim again. She never should have been in the first place. But we live in a world where good is called evil and evil is called good. We live in a time where anyone who is in any kind of minority is considered a victim, and we're supposed to give up our life for them. We're supposed to treat them better than we treat anyone else. Doesn't matter what minority they're part of. They might be the minority that says, we believe in a pine tree as God. We're supposed to put them on a pedestal and make them feel good about their incorrectness. We live in a time where if somebody has a disability in an American school system, the ones who don't have a learning disability are expected to learn at a slower pace to make that person feel better. When I was in school, they put the advanced learners in a different class. And you taught them the more difficult subjects at a different rate of speed than you did those who were having trouble. Doesn't mean that they can't learn. It means they learn differently than other people. Today, for some reason, we want to treat everybody exactly the same. They're not. If somebody is gay today, we're supposed to give them special preferential treatment just for being gay. That makes absolutely no sense. You can be whatever you want to be, but don't expect to be treated any better or any worse for being that. Somebody's, well, you pick the adjective. We're supposed to bend the rules of mankind, of humanity, so that they can afford to be placed above the majority. Much of this comes from a lack of basic biblical principles. You're supposed to train a child in the way that they should go. Not let a child tell the parent what to do, right? The other is one of the most profound biblical passages there is. You're going to recognize this because we use it all the time, hopefully every day.
Deuteronomy 6:4-9. Listen, people of Israel, the Lord is our God. He is the only Lord. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Always remember these commands I give you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road. Talk to them when you lie down and when you get up. Write them down and tie them to your hands as a sign. Tie them on your forehead to remind you. Write them on your doors and your gates.
Now, does that mean to literally tie them? Some people take it that way, and they do that. What the intent here is you have to remember, and you have to teach your children to remember. You teach your children so that they can teach their children, who can teach their children, who can teach their children. It doesn't work the other way around. Without a foundation found in the sacred word of the Creator, we will believe any of the lies that someone tells us because we have nothing to hold up as a comparison to, right? We don't hold the Bible up to what man says. We hold what man says up to the Bible. And then believe the Bible. Why would a group of people believe what is she now, 15 or 16, Greta Thunberg, who's never finished school, isn't allowed, she's not old enough to know anything, barely old enough to drive. She doesn't really probably know the rules of the road yet. She doesn't know about life yet, and we are supposed to believe everything she has to say about global warming, climate change. No. The answer, the world is so willing to become a victim, they're willing to destroy themselves to get there. Why? Why does the world all of a sudden believe the rantings of a few millionaires who want to reduce the world's population? They want to be victims. But here's something you need to take into consideration. None of those millionaires are the first ones to volunteer to reduce the world's population by them. They're not willing to be the first one to step off a cliff. They're not willing to be the first ones to jump off a building. They're not willing to be the first ones to take the needle. They're not willing to be the first ones to go because they want to tell you what to do. Why is the world so ready to accept that a virus with a 99.64 survival rate is so dangerous? They crave disaster, they crave chaos, they crave disorder, and they hate the one who brings order, who brings the destruction of chaos. They hate the Creator. They've run out of ways to bring false testimony against Him, so now the world is conspiring to bring self-destruction to as much of mankind as possible. There's good news. The believers in the world have hope. If we look at Exodus 15, verse 26, you've heard this here often.
He said, "You must obey the Lord your God. You must do what the Lord said is right. You must obey all His laws and keep His rules. If you do these things, I will not give you any of the sickness I gave the Egyptians. I am the Lord who heals you." Now,
we often think about the sicknesses that the Egyptians suffered as the plagues? What about the diseases they suffered prior to that? What about the lies they believed? All the false gods they had? That fits in this verse. That fits in this verse. We can look back in history and see that every time any nation, anywhere in the world, begins to self-destruct, it is because they are believing the lies. They're putting the false gods, they're bearing false witness. They've turned everything inside out and upside down. What we need to do is repent and learn to live the way our Creator designed us to live. And that's what Give God 90 is here for. You can go there and begin to improve your life. You can go there and start taking the challenge, as I call it, but it's not really a challenge if you're willing to take the steps. Just little things you can change every day. Don't be in a hurry. You didn't get where you are overnight. Don't expect to turn it around overnight. Some people can, most people can't. But you can begin. You can choose to improve your life. You can choose to change. You can choose to repent. And by the way, while you're there, look around. There's things there that might interest you. There's a place where you can order our pictures. There's a place, we talk about it not all the time, probably not often enough. There's some folks that designed footwear that lets you walk the way your Creator designed you to walk. They have a very, very, very thin sole. The Almighty didn't make you dependent on foot support. He said, I designed you, and it's good. It's very, very good. Genesis 1:26, I think. 28, somewhere in there. Read all Genesis 1. You'll find it. Trust me, it's there. He said, I designed you perfectly. And what do we try to do? We try to improve on it. Oh, my foot hurts. So we give somebody a thick sole. We give somebody support. You don't always need it. If you can walk across the floor barefoot, you can wear in fact, I'm wearing a pair right now. Are you? No, you're still barefoot. Well, you got slippers on. So think about these things. Choose your wardrobe carefully. And if you go through our website to get to their website, that's just another way you can help us. Not to give them a 5-minute commercial, but, I wear them a lot. I even skateboard in them at my age.
Yeah. I wear them almost all the time.
You wear them almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how you're living your life. Are you living your life the way your Creator designed you to live? And it doesn't just mean, I'm a good person, right? Am I doing everything I can to live the way my Creator designed me to live? And that, that includes who we believe and why we believe it. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. You can believe what the Bible has to say. Religion is the lie. Superstition is the lie. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Absolutely. Until Thursday. Many, many blessings, everyone.